Your destination wedding save the dates are going to make or break your guest list, and I'm going to dive into it. If we don't know each other yet, my name is Becky from the blog travelagentbecky.com, and I specialize in weddings that happen in the Cancun or Riviera Maya area of Mexico. And of course, I also do cruises and all-inclusive resorts. I love the Caribbean area in general, and it's all considered my specialty. So if you think we should work together or start chatting, make sure you find all of my info in the description below. Today, I'm breaking down the destination wedding save the dates, why it's so important, and what that sweet spot is to make sure as many guests can attend as possible. So here's the truth. I meant when I said when you send your save the dates can actually make or break your entire guest list. Here's the truth. If you send your destination wedding save the dates too early, your guests might think they have enough time, they'll book it later, and they forget about it, which creates a whole separate issue. If you send them too late, your guests may not have enough time to save. And so there really is a sweet spot in which I recommend you send those save the dates to get the best attendance. Let's start with your traditional weddings, just so we have something to compare them to. If your guests are driving in, maybe flying in, they're going to spend the day with you and then head home. Typically, those go out 6 to 8 months in advance because, again, your friends and family will need time off work. They probably have some travel expenses to coordinate, and it's just polite to allow them the chance to plan. Of course, the caveat is if you're getting married on a holiday or doing something kind of different and special, you might need to send them earlier just so people can really plan around that. But honestly, for a traditional wedding happening home domestically in the US, 6 to 8 months is pretty standard. Now, destination weddings, completely different. I personally think the sweet spot is 10 to 12 months in advance. However, if you are concerned that there are going to be budget issues, I recommend 12 to 16 months in advance. 18 to 20 months in advance, you could be working to secure the best deals, having that information all stored. So then in a few months, you'll be able to launch your wedding to your friends and family. Why are we asking our friends and family to save the date so much earlier than a traditional wedding, even though travel is still included? Because you're asking your guests to travel internationally. For some guests, they might need the opportunity to get their life in order and get a passport. They might need multiple days off work, not just a Friday to get there on a Saturday. They might need to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days off. We're also allowing them time to budget for a significantly larger airfare. Airfare internationally is a little bit pricier than airfare domestically. Of course, we're also asking them to cover the cost of their own stay at the all-inclusive property, which likely is more expensive than the Holiday Inn or wherever you have a room block domestically. Your destination wedding isn't just a mark for a Friday night or a Saturday off kind of a deal. We're asking people to come spend several days with you internationally, and that requires a little more time. When I'm advising my destination wedding couples, I often tell them the earlier you send your wedding invites, the better. And that's usually because we've resolved the wedding details right around the 18-month mark, sometimes a little later, sometimes the 16th month mark. So at that point, they can really start pushing their destination wedding information out to their friends and family. When you give your guests 12 months or more, it often means they can book early, get a great rate, but then also make payments so that they feel prepared when that final payment is due and they're not overwhelmed with a larger chunk still due. Real talk, I have seen some of my last minute destination wedding couples try to send out save the dates as low as 6 months in advance and kind of struggle to understand why it's hard for people to get off work and get there with 6 months. If you are doing a last minute wedding, it's not a problem, but you do need to be prepared that your guest list might be smaller than you originally hoped it would be because it's just not enough time to get coordinated. If you are a planner, you may be wondering, Becky, is there such a thing as too early? What if I send my destination wedding information, or at least some vague save the dates, 2 years in advance, 18 months in advance? And here's the thing I would respond with that. A save the date is not a legally binding contract. It's just a heads up. And so if you want to generically give your wedding guest list a heads up, sure, I don't see that as an issue. However, if you open the booking window up at the same time, that can sometimes lead people to think, oh, I have way more time than I need. I will come back to this and do this later. And then oftentimes they don't. And so that's when I say doing it too early, opening that booking window too early can really actually go the other way and have your guest list shrink. I also advise you not to send save the dates if you are not locked in with your resort contract. So much can change during the negotiation process, and if they end up not having your date available anymore because of an issue, then you have to go back and change everything. So lock everything down with the resorts, sign your contracts, get everything set, and at that point, then start sharing your information. What actually goes on a destination wedding save the date? To be fair, a lot of people are using their destination wedding save the dates as their actual formal invitations. They're lumping them together because you need so much lead time for a destination wedding. So that save the date really is saying, hey, the booking window is open. Why don't you head over to our wedding website and go ahead and see all the information you need. I like to include all of these together in one big push. That way everybody can be excited when they hear about the destination wedding, and that information is readily available before conversations can start circulating. If you want more information on a wedding website specific to destination weddings, I do have a video on that I will put a link up here for you so that you can check it out. What do save the dates actually look like for destination weddings? Are they paper? Are they digital? What do they look like? And to that, I would say go digital if you can. It is lovely if you can send out a paper mailing, but we really need everybody to be digital for this destination wedding. They're gonna have to book everything digitally, right? Airfare, all-inclusive properties, if they need to work or book with the travel agent, all of their passport information, it all needs to be digitalized. And so I recommend digital if you can, but I know grandma sometimes really, really, really wants that paper save the date. And if that's the case, I would say do both, but definitely don't do just paper. I feel like you have to go digital at least a little bit. So the elephant in the room is that destination weddings need a lot of lead time. Booking your destination wedding contract, signing on the line, working with a specific resort really should be happening 18 to 16 months in advance. That's the sweet spot to then line yourself up to be really appropriate for your guest lists and getting information out, allowing people to budget, all of that stuff. So you really have to kind of do the math and work backwards to figure out when should you reach out to a travel agent? When should you shop for that? When should you figure out who your wedding specialist will be? Any of those things. So that's the first investment to make, is figuring those details out. They will help point you to the right resorts to choose and then walk you through your wedding contracts. I highly recommend you choose a wedding specialist versus just a travel agent, although those sometimes cost more on your end. They know the resort contracts, they know the group codes, they know who to talk to get the best rates and the best perks for you. So they will earn their money back and they will be so much more valuable to you in the long run. And in the meantime, if you'd love to work together to plan your destination wedding in the Cancun or Riviera Maya area, all of my information is linked below. Please make sure you're liking and subscribing to this video if you loved the content and want to see my destination wedding tips in your inbox every week. Have a great one.